From the beginning of time, humans have always looked towards the sky for inspiration and guidance. There has been a fascination with birds, stars, gods, goddesses, and other entities which seem to exist above us, and for many humans, a strong yearning to travel into space. Man has dreamt of flight since observing space, and now it is time to become the space traveller. The future of space travel requires us to understand from where we came, to see where we are going.
Several thousand years ago, philosophers Mozi and Lu Ban from China were looking to the wind for flight. They invented kites using silk and bamboo, allowing for the later development of communication, measuring distances, testing the wind, and lifting men.
The invention of the kite brought with it the desire to fly. The first known attempts at flight were typically by leaping off towers, known as tower jumping. People in China, India, and Europe first attempted flight this way.
In 1670, Francesco Lana de Tarzi published a book that showed some interesting concepts. The concept of copper foil in a sphere with a vacuum would produce a vacuum airship. This is still not possible with today's materials. Francesco is recognized as the father of aeronautics, melding science and mathematics into aerial navigation.
The Chinese are believed to have developed the first hot air device. The Chinese lantern, using hot air from a candle, can take flight and was first used for signalling. The hot air balloon achieved the first human lift and advanced to what we know of as the Zeppelin.
The first attempts at flight in a heavier-than-air flying machine were made by more than just the Wright brothers. Most attempts failed, however, they were the stepping stones for what was to come later. The oldest airport, College Park, is still in operation today.
Airplanes evolved rapidly through the century, from propeller to helicopter to jet aircraft, and most of that technology is used today.
During the Second World War, Germany developed rockets that could go a limited distance. The basic rocket technology used then is still used today. The space race started with the Soviet Union and the USA in 1957 and led to many developments for the next step, the moon.
The spacecraft assigned as Apollo 11 was the first spacecraft to have landed on the moon. The space shuttle operated at tremendous cost. Burning the fuel proved to be wasteful and dangerous technology. The International Space Station, ISS, is a habitable artificial satellite that was assembled in low Earth orbit in 1998 with the use of the space shuttle. The ISS can often be seen with the naked eye from Earth.
SpaceX, as a private aerospace producer and space transportation services company, was founded in 2002 by Elon Musk with the goal of reducing space transportation costs and enabling the colonization of Mars. SpaceX reuses the first stage of their primary rocket, Falcon 9, by vertical propulsive landings. Although, up to present time, it still uses the rocket fuel burning technology. Mehran Kesh has always said, the time for burning fuels is over. But did we need to start with that technology in the first place?
Ancient cultures have suggested the use of an alternative means of transportation. With reference to possible plasma technology,
you can go to New York from Brussels within 2 to 5 minutes. And most of this 5 minutes is actually landing and getting up.
Mehran Tavakkoli Kesh was born in Iran in 1958. As the son of an X-ray engineer, he was introduced to the world of radiation and nuclear science at a very young age. In 1981, he graduated from Queen Mary, the University of London, as a nuclear engineer specialized in reactor technology system control. At that time, he developed a number of theoretical ideas related to more simple nuclear concepts and their applications. In 2002, he decided to finish the full design of his ideas about nuclear technology. This included the creation and control of gravity and energy by the use of nuclear materials in a clean and safe hydrogen reactor. Mehran Keshe introduced the concept of double magnetic fields to explain the magnetic and gravitational field of Earth.
Unknown by the existing scientific community, he wrote a number of scientific papers in 2004 and sent them for peer review, such as the creation of black holes. When one of the persons performing the peer review used his information in public, he decided to draw back his papers and to concentrate further on building prototypes.
Since the beginning of 2006, several prototypes of dynamic reactors have been built, some specifically designed to create hovering effects, similar to effects seen with magnetic levitation. Basic hovering effects have been achieved. 2007 brought the first flight test with radioactive material, in which the patents describe the process of the field interactions.
The main patent, Gravitational and Energy System, described the initial fundamental aspects of the plasma and uses. This was followed by the supplemental patent, Microplasma Reactors, where further uses and advancements were described. Mr. Keshe found himself in Iran in 2008 and was provided all the resources needed to create the first lift of a plasma reactor managed by the Iranian government. These special rotating gas reactors were used to control the plasma. To bring a deeper understanding, Mr. Keshe released the first book in 2009, The Universal Order of Creation of Matters, which contained many new concepts released to the public. This included the PMTIC plasma magnetic fields, initial fundamental plasma and plasma dilution technology used for space reactors. The plasma technology was further developed and it manifested in weight fluctuation in a controlled environment. 2010 introduced a new state of matter called GANS, an acronym for gas in nanosolid state. The GANS produces fields to be used in the operation of the spaceship. Advanced flight tests were performed in Iran with the guidance of Mr. Keshe and the newly designed systems.
Mr. Keshe tells us you can't bring all the doctors with you in space. Medical research advanced in 2010 and is still being explored daily all around the world. The Keshe Foundation has provided knowledge for dealing with many medical conditions in space.
A great example of plasma technology used for peaceful process is the capturing of the USA drone over Iran in December 2011. This drone was touted as one of the most advanced drones of its day and was caught by Iran using plasma to disrupt the communications. Plasma absorbs fields and the drone uses radio fields for piloting, a natural aspect of the plasma, a barrier of fields.
Book 2, The Structure of the Light, was released in 2011. This book brought forward the understanding of the structure of light as a cylindrical plasma where the light is in possession of all magnetic field strengths. Book 3, The Origin of the Universe, was published later in 2011. Mr. Keshe explained the further operation and interaction of different strengths of the same fields, which then leads to the creation of the universe. These 3 books bring forward a much deeper understanding of the plasma science that is applied worldwide by knowledge seekers and scientists in spaceship research and development.
There were 2 conferences to release the space technology to governments in 2012. The first international presentation in April, Keshe Foundation invited representatives of every country to the first presentation of the plasma technology. The second international presentation in September, Keshe Foundation invited the nations of the world through their ambassadors and their leaders to attend a gathering at the Keshe Foundation Center in Nenove, Belgium.
Space travel requires peace. The implementation of the plasma technology brings greater responsibility. In 2013, Mr. Keshe brought forward the World Peace Treaty. Signing of the peace treaty is a confirmation from yourself to your soul to act correctly in a peaceful manner.
In 2014, knowledge seekers came together from around the world to learn from Mr. Kesh, and many different experiments with reactors were performed, including improving the previously developed reactors to fit with the new knowledge, introduction of nano-coated reactors, multi-core GaN systems. The Spaceship Institute lab experiments were streamed live on the internet for all to see. SSI lab tests with reactors showed strong magnetic field pulses up to 129 Tesla and showed significant weight fluctuations. In December, an experiment was performed using reactors built by knowledge seekers from around the world. Italy, Germany, and Canada were involved in field communication tests. The tests showed that fields can interact with each other no matter the distance or time, resulting in instant communication.
In 2015, developments for space continued with different aspects of the plasma technology, such as in health, energy, and decontamination. In October of 2015, Mr. Kesh taught a popular week-long course called the Blueprint Teachings about how to build the MAGRAV power units. People from all over the world participated with building their own MAGRAV units and teaching others. With the demand of the Kesh Foundation products from all over the world, a new research center and manufacturing opened in Arizona, USA. Many developments of the technology happened in different parts of the world, and Kesh Foundation USA is no exception. John and the team started performing experiments using different sensing tools. These tools allowed the team to visualize the MAGRAV fields and to show others their interactions. With reactor formations showing positive results, partaking in the knowledge together is easier and more joyful than ever. The fun has just begun, says MT Kesh.
Mr. Kesh publicly teaches the space technology through the weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops. Plasma enthusiasts from around the world participate in gathering the knowledge and putting the puzzle together in the space race. All people, irrespective of race, nation or religion, are invited to participate in the exchange of knowledge, thus assisting humanity to live within the ethos of the universe. It is recognized that international cooperation and peace is a prerequisite for mankind to journey into deep space. Individuals and nations are invited to come together in the spirit of collaboration and unity to enable peaceful application and the use of plasma technology for space travel, food, agriculture, energy, transportation, health, and more. We are excited to release the Kesh Foundation Spaceship Blueprint to humanity.
Welcome everyone to the 262nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, February 7th, 2019. My name is Rick Krem and I'll be your host today. And as usual, in the last 5 years of Knowledge Seekers Workshops, we'll be having the presence of Mr. Mayran Kesh here to guide us through today's teaching and workshop. And I believe he's ready to go. Mr. Kesh, are you there? I could be wrong on the other hand. I think maybe he had to... Mr. Kesh, are you there? I see you are on the list actually, but your microphone's muted.
Oh, my microphone, is it okay now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you very much. Good day to you as usual. Good morning, good afternoon, whenever and wherever you listen to these Knowledge Seekers course of teachings and knowledge sharing. In so many ways, as Rick was just saying, we carry on and plod along, and we bring more and more knowledge to share and to see how we can share these knowledges unconditionally. And that's the main thing, unconditionally to sharing knowledge, and being able to share the knowledge. It's a very powerful thing. The problem will come is we are so confident that we can share unconditionally, and we know that what we share is not going to be abused, and it's going to be to benefit of the humanity. Some time ago, we started this process of sharing, irrespective of position, language, and wherever we've been. And this in process has given us a lot of strength. It's given us a lot of courage. It's given us a lot of hope that life can still go on. We can still find point of mutual sharing, and we pass borders, nations, colors, races, and in so many ways we have broken every rule in the book that others have created to control everything. As scientists told me once, you are become the rebel of what I call scientists. You don't know, you don't care what you teach, that others can use it, and you don't care that you might make a lot of money out of it and you give it away. I said that's what I brought it, for everybody to make money out of it, everybody happy with it. Talking about the money and happiness, I would like to welcome our Chinese friends, Chinese community. Wish you a fantastic, rich and prosperous year, and in so many ways thanking you for being our host, a nation host for past year, where we've been here and we tried, and you helped us in so many ways to progress further. I'm loyal to the nation of China, and I love the nation of China. In so many ways we have achieved through Chinese organizations and governments and our collaborators so much that is unimaginable. Many of you will come to understand very soon what the Chinese Keshe Foundation, the Chinese community, have managed to achieve and bring progress to the foundation. Our thanks goes to the Office of His Excellency President Xi and the what we call the governing bodies of China, who have supported the foundation in so deep way. And in so many ways, because of what we received in China, Keshe Foundation will be much better off in the long term. You will understand in the coming time. As I said, and it's very clear to the Chinese administration and presidency, we love your nation, and we serve, same as the way we serve the Iranian nation, we'll serve the Chinese nation. Happy New Year to you, a prosperous year to all the Chinese Keshe Foundations and all the people who work around the foundation in every place on this planet. As one nation, one planet, one race. We don't know borders, but part of the family is celebrating. Not every day everybody have a child to celebrate. This today is a celebration of the children of China. As a bigger family, doesn't matter where you live, under the umbrella of one planet, one nation, and under the banner of Universal Council. You all welcome and congratulations, and happy many, many prosperous years ahead of you, especially in the year of Pig. We carry on with our teaching, and if we can get everything sorted, that we can get our screen back as usual. Somehow we're running with problem with the screen. I try to explain to you so many simple things. A lot of things is covering and being able to cover the knowledge. As I said, as you've seen in the past few weeks, we start filling in the gaps. We start covering the positions and the, what we call structures which we did not cover before. In so many ways, trying to go deeper in the understanding of how things work, how do things develop in this new knowledge, in this new technology, in this new understanding of everything else except what we came here for. And in so many ways, is the knowledge, what we carry, is what we are missing, or what we were missing. Is our knowledge has come, and has our knowledge developed to the point that we can go to the next step. We had a very interesting teaching on Tuesday. We had a very, what I call, exhausting time last night in the private teachings, in trying to understand, trying to explain, trying to extend the knowledge on all directions, emotion, understanding of the culture of the language of the universe, in how we as human beings have gone through the point of not knowing anymore what is and how it's going to be. In a way, as one said, Mr. Kesh, you have tickled us to knowing something beautiful is to come, but you don't take us to see it. I said, it's not me who takes you. You have to graduate yourself to be able to see it. In so many ways, to what extent would us as human race are ready to face the fact? How much are we there to be able to understand the truth, the extent of the truth? Understanding what it means to be able to be part of a structure which we always have been and we never knew. Does humanity needs to break into new grounds? Does humanity needs to understand what he has not understood? Or we understood but we ignored it because it did not make sense to us. It wasn't part of us. We were not part of this movie. At least we thought we are not part of the movie. But in fact, we were part of, major part of, acting part of this movie in where we are. In the process of knowledge seeking, we have come very far. In the process of understanding the knowledge, we still have problem. Many of us have a problem in moving to the next level, understanding the extent of the next level, being able to bring in, usher in the new cycle, the new era, the new understanding, the totality, the understanding of totality. And in so many ways, in understanding it, how do we allow for us to extend the knowledge? Does the extension of knowledge means acceptance? Or does the extent of knowledge brings comprehension? Brings to think, does it bring maturity? Since we have spoken about the portals and how we can open new dimensions, many of you have started thinking, can I be part of it? Am I part of it? Is it part of me? Would I see it? Would I be part of it? And is the cycle of the man, cycle of life of the man, has any more meaning? As I said in the teaching recently, we're talking about few seconds. To us is 1 year, is 10 years, number of cycles around this planet, around the sun, and how many days. But in fact, for us to go back one cycle from where we are or we were on the arm of the galaxy to come back to the same point, how many thousands of years would it be? How many million years will be if we look at this galaxy in front of us on the screen for us to come back to the same point? To us to come back to the same point, we call it a 24 hours. For us to come back to the same point, we call it 1 year. It takes us 365 days and thousands of millions of kilometers traveling. What about we are on one of the arms of this galaxy? And how long would it take us back to come to the same point? And what will we call it? Galaxial year? Or do we call it a moon year? Or do we call it what? Would a man live long enough to see a full cycle of rotation of a galaxy? And as we know, this galaxy is not standing still. This is part of the rotation within the fields of the universe. How long does it take to come back in the same point? Would man live long enough to see a full cycle of universal year? Does this depend on how we educate ourselves to be able to live longer physically? Would that be possible? Or would we come to the point that we detach ourselves from this physicality and we just become part of the cycle of the fields of the universe, but with a memory like an RNA that we were put together in totality somewhere on a point of the universe called planet Earth? But there is one point. When we get to these portals and when we travel, would we leave a scent of the soul of the man that you can trace back? Or you can be traced back too. When you walk, when you sleep, you always leave a scent behind. But does our soul have a scent? Does our soul leave a trace that it can come back home?
Are you still there, Mr. Kish? Okay, seems like we have a temporary loss of the audio. There, are you back, Mr. Kish?
Yeah, it's one of those.
One of those. Lost you again.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said it's one of those days. It seems going to be very exciting. Let me see something. Let me just try something, please. I'm going to switch to another system, if I can call it up. No, I understand.
The audio was quite good there for a while, but it's a bit noisier now, and that we hear in the background, like. But go ahead.
I think something happened. Something happened. It's better now. No, it's okay. We cannot change. I was trying to switch to another server, and it's not possible. It's not happening. What was going
We can't hear you again, Mr. Kesh. Hello, Mr. Kesh? Seems to be coming in and out. Well, in this interval, I'll note the question in the Q&A from Mark. Does the soul leave a trace?
Yes, does the soul leave a trace?
And I was going to say this is like a test of that question in a way. When we can't hear you, can we still feel you while you're disconnected? Your audio is disconnected, but your soul's not disconnected. So what is it that we're hearing, right?
Very soon, as part of the teaching, if you notice in a lot of teaching, I take space gaps nowadays. I take what you think is silent, but in fact, I take a space gap to see, to reach the soul than the voice of the man. It's very interesting in how our people will come to understand this. How people will come to comprehend you don't need to hear the voice. I started this some months ago, and more in that process, we are going through this level of understanding.
Still there, Mr. Kirsch? Paul, your microphone is open. It's closed now. Yeah. Can't hear you currently, Mr. Kirsch. So does the soul leave a trace? Yes, as Mark says, that's where he left off, but also that's where we're left in a way. Left with. Okay, we'll just wait for another bit for Mr. Kesh to connect in a different way.
Hello, sorry, I'm back. It's going to be a very interesting week today. Very interesting teaching. Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, loud and clear, okay. What I was trying to say is that in a coming time, we will come across part of teaching that you will hear silence. And the teachings will take a different dimension. In a way, part of a training to understand, to hear the soul of the man, not the voice of the man. And we come back and I carry on with the teaching. And you will see if what you received fits into the part of the teaching. What this means that, let's say, I think about a cup of tea and I explain to you, so it's brown in color, it's very sweet, and it has some scent in it. And when I start talking, I speak about a nice piece of cake or something with a dinner. Then you have to understand, oh, now understand, tea goes with the cake. In so many ways, establishing a line of communication. And we extend into this. Many of you might say, oh, just keep silent. But many of you can come back. Were you thinking about the cake? What about the tea? And these things is part of growing into understanding the voice of the soul of the man. The human race knew this very clearly. Even knew how to communicate long distances with the soul by thinking. And in the time of rest lying on the energy of the man himself has gone worse and worse, and it's to the point till we don't see it with our own eyes, we don't believe it, or we don't hear it, we don't accept it. And a lot of it is the way we've been educated. A lot of it is how we've been brought up. And we have caused that problem for ourselves. Nobody else has. In so many ways, the extent of understanding the work of the soul of the man has been forgotten. We have totally forgotten that we have a source, we have a dimension which goes beyond our physicality. We have the capability that we have ignored ourselves to it, and with it we have brought a lot of problems. Would the mankind ever come to cross this point? We do not know. Whether mankind will let this fear to disappear, we do not know. It just depends when the man decides to mature. It seems somehow everything is on a standstill in the world of the universal work till this child decides, I'm going now to mature. I've decided I played enough. And this is taking us a long time. We're patient, we wait till mankind matures to his own dimension. Till mankind comes to understand his own power, his own strength, his own comprehension of the existence. It's very much, there are part of the technology of the science of man which we have ignored deliberately because maybe it was not time to do, was not, or could not be taken through this barrier. And now that man is ready to go, we try to rush up. We're literally rushing everything through as fast as we can to catch up. It comes to the point that is not philosophy, is not science of understanding the creation, but science of understanding ourselves. science of being able to work and become more aware of our own structure. In the past weeks, I start talking about one of the most fundamental elements in the world of the creation. One of the most important elements of creation in the line of communication and transportation for man will be and is carbon-14. Under the atmospheric pressures of this planet does not exist in the structure of the life of the man works immensely. But in so many ways, man not having the understanding of knowledge, man has taken it as part of continuous misunderstanding of the knowledge of creation. And in so many ways, because of the characteristics of the structure, man lives by this miscomprehension. And in the process of the science of life, always makes a mistake between this matter and what we call oh, something happened here. We have made a lot of mistakes in the structure of the totality. What does this mean is that carbon-14 in a structure, matter state, will show itself in majority of cases in the body of the man and in the work of the plants as nitrogen. But in reality, the dynamic structure of the work of the universe, which is similar as a macro in micro, the work of communication line of the body of the man, it structures itself into line of transfer of energy and line of separation of energy. It's very much like a plastic or wax shielding on a process between the lines of the emotion of the man. It plays a very specific characteristics because it behaves very much like insulation. It's very much like a diamond structure, very much what we call graphene, but in a dynamic plasmatic form. And this is what we need to understand to be able to structure the life of the man and understand the whole process of creation in the process of understanding of the work of the physicality. there is a line of work which a lot of scientists have overlooked, and a lot of misunderstanding in it has brought us a lot of problems to be able to bring the dimension of the physicality into operation of the soul of the man, soul of the physicality, separation of the understanding of the line of communication. And this process will take time to understand in full. But what is important for us is how we have seen the structure of the physicality of the man. And have we understood the separation of the line in the structure? And how everything in that structure comes to be part of the total energy balance of the soul of the man, the physicality of the man, the existence of the man, and to what extent can we envisage to be able to go further. We got to look at the different structure. We got to look at the real structure. We got to understand the totality of the physical structure of the man. And something which comes up and pops up very, very nicely. But as I said, in the world of science, in the world of chemistry, in the world of biology, we have brought this misunderstanding, which now, as I said, we have to correct. And then it becomes a path, it becomes a beginning in understanding how and the way things are brought together, things are processed together, things are put together in the physical structure of the man through the connection of the body of the man with his physicality, with his soul. In so many ways, we got to go back to the basic and make some small corrections or add to the knowledge to be able to go to the next step. If we look and understand how, in which steps mankind has taken a step and has gone through the process of creation, a lot of mysteries about the life of the man, operation of the life of the man, the soul of the man, operation of the soul of the man, operation of physicality of the man, all can be understood. All can be taken to the next step, all can be added or can be understood to be added. What does this mean? One of the fundamental problems in the whole cycle of the understanding of the physiology of the man is the construction of the physicality of the man, and how everything has been based on one or two elements, but man has calculated everything else but these one or two elements. This is very much This is very much like we have missed half of the equation. We have missed half of the knowledge. We have missed part of it which was really there and we didn't see. Or we never understood that this is part of totality. This is part of we've been missing. This is, in essence, part which will bring us, forces us. We have no choice but to understand it, to be able to continue with it, to be able to extract from it the real knowledge. And in so many ways, this carbon-14 as the energy of the plasma, as energy of the fields of the plasma, has never been understood in clarity. And man has made, because of his presence, a lot of mistakes in the structure of the amino acid of the body of the man. It causes cancers and it cures cancers. It creates the destruction of the connection layers of the brain of the man. Leads to your age, your stroke, leads to understanding of the total work. It affects every operation of the physicality of the man. It affects every operation of the soul of the man. It affects every connection between the soul of the man and soul of the physicality. And most of the time, the world of science has never considered, never understood that what this means. What can be created, what can be given, what can be added, what can be amalgamated from understanding of the work of the carbon-14. One of the problems of it is that the scientific world has not managed to produce it the way it works in the body of the man in a, what we call as a Ganz condition, as a plasmatic condition. It has a sequence. It repeats itself in different combination, and because of its dynamism and is what you call separation of the physicality from the neurosystem, man have always ignored it. If you look in the dimension of the work of nitrogen, we look to the work of carbon-14, and we look into operation of like CH3, it has, and it should have given us a lot of clues. We should have understood a lot of clues. I spent a lot of time today in trying to explain the work of carbon-14, because it's something is so fundamental that it needs a time to be spent on it, because now you will understand the work of the transmutation. How transmutation becomes possible. It comes the work of transportation across the universe. It comes from the point of insulation and isolation of the fields of the universe. Somebody's microphone is open. It comes to understanding the totality and the relationship between different parts and structure of the physicality and the soul of the man, and in so many ways is the pathway of the soul of the man to connect with the universal community in the path of the line of communication. When we spoke about the carbon in CO2, when we use it for conductivity and connection in our medical applications or in other fields, carbon-14 is the same, but in the dimension with the connection with the soul of the man and physicality of the man. Is the pathway, the way, the as we call it, the wire, the string, where the soul of the man leaves the physicality of the man. Is the connection where you go what you call a dream time, but it knows where to connect to, happens through that. It has a fingerprint of the interaction of the soul. It has a fingerprint of the interaction of the universe. And in so many different ways, we have to understand the work of carbon-14. Carbon at all, altogether. What is a carbon-14? Rick, can you pull up on the Wikipedia or a wiki, what is carbon-14 in the matter state? Can you get it?
Yes, sure. Just a minute, Mr. Kesh.
What is interesting, you got to understand, we look at carbon-14 in a plasmatic state, not in a matter state. But in so many ways, if we look at a carbon-14 in partially in the world of the science, present science, they call it graphene. It behaves that way in some occasions because it looks as to be the end and at the same time is the beginning of every nerve. One end of the neural system where your nerves stop is the orientation of the carbon-14, which creates the feedback. It's carbon-14 which gives you the isolation at the point of amputation and the release of energy as what you call it, phantom pain. And it's part of the whole structure of our existence in real life. Would you like to read it for us?
Sure. Okay. Get my microphone open. Just a second.
Is the fire alarm gone off? Whoa. Are you back? Okay, I'll read it. It says carbon-14, radiocarbon, is a radioactive isolate of carbon with an atomic nucleus containing 6 protons and 8 neutrons. Its presence is organic material. Organic material is the basis of the radiocarbon dating method, pioneered by William Levy and colleague. To date, archaeological, geological, and hydrogeological something. Somebody is on my screen, or is it you playing with the background?
I was going to make it larger if you want to read it there, or I could read it if you like.
No, it's okay. Carry on reading, because we have to understand this. Carry on.
You want me to read then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I read it. I read it up to the first bracket, 1949. Yeah.
Yep. So, okay. So carbon-14 was discovered on February 27th, 1940 by Martin Kamen and Sam Rubin at the University of California Radiation Laboratory in Berkeley, California. Its existence had been suggested by Franz Curie in 1934. It goes on to say there are 3 naturally occurring isotopes of carbon on Earth. Carbon-12, which makes up 99% of all carbon on Earth, carbon-13, which makes up 1%, and carbon-14, which occurs in trace amounts, making up about 1 or 1.5 atoms per 10 to the 12th atoms of carbon in the atmosphere. Carbon-12 and carbon-13 are both stable, while carbon-14 is unstable and has a half-life of 5,730 years plus or minus 40 years. Carbon-14 decays into nitrogen-14 through beta decay. A gram of carbon containing 1 atom of carbon-14 per 10 to the 12th atoms will emit about 0.2 beta particles per second. The primary natural source of carbon-14 on Earth is cosmic ray action on nitrogen in the atmosphere, and is therefore a cosmogenic nuclide. However, open-air nuclear testing between 1955 and 1980 contributed to this pool. The different isotopes of carbon do not differ appreciably in their chemical properties. This resemblance is used in chemical and biological research in a technique called carbon labeling. Carbon-14 atoms can be used to replace non-radioactive carbon in order to trace chemical and biochemical reactions involving carbon atoms from any given organic compound. Do you want me to continue?
Can you repeat that last sentence?
Okay. I'll say the whole paragraph. It might make more sense.
Okay.
The different isotopes of carbon do not differ appreciably in their chemical properties. This resemblance is used in chemical and biological research in a technique called carbon labeling. Carbon-14 atoms can be used to replace non-radioactive carbon in order to trace chemical and biochemical reactions involving carbon atoms from any given organic compound.
And if you go back to the first line of the top paragraph.
Oops, just a minute.
Just go up. It says carbon-14 is a radioactive isotope of carbon. And then it says at the bottom, carbon-14 can be used to replace non-radioactive carbon in order to trace chemical, biological reaction involving carbon atom for any organic compound. And when you read it, it says it decays to nitrogen. But all this is in the matter state. In the condition of the plasma body of the man, and in the dimension of the universe, what does radioactive means? It means energetic. And the energetic dimension of this carbon-14 is absolutely amazing because it's not being a beta decay. It's being a dynamic plasmatic field which is continuously travels beyond the speed of light on the matter state. The reason for it, which has never understood, or now maybe it can be explained, is neutrons are the source of the energy because they want to decay to create stability. They split into a proton and a neutron, electron to create stable condition for themselves. But in the case of the carbon-14, you have two neutrons at the same time busy releasing, and in that process to do dynamic point centers trying to balance or create a balance in their field interaction, create a line of insulation, a line of magnetic field which does not accept anymore because at the moment it has circled itself. In the term of magnetic insulation and isolation, when you have a double neutron base like this, it means that the matter state of it is within itself. It isolates itself. It has a huge amount of energy to release. And that gives a very high dynamic center to its carbon structure, the other 6 protons and neutrons. And it literally, it catapults this material. A normal carbon does not behave like this. A radioactive material, which means has a huge amount of energy, in a plasmatic condition has a huge amount of energy, which in balance with having no electron to feed off to split into, that it can create a balance of itself to become an atom. It creates what I call super bullet out of carbon-14. And that allows the man to travel the depth of space as a fuel, if you can replicate it. It teaches a lot to those of us who wants to understand, because of this higher speed, it creates a line of transportation for the field matter states of it. Carbon-14 is a plasmatic radioactive, not matter state radioactive, if we can call it that way. It's a source of energy which is so much, it's like a virus sit around the nucleus of the carbon. And because of that amount of energy it gives to it, it just makes a fireball out of the others. It's a free engine. It's a free energy resource for the structure. And when you enter in the dimension of the matter state, a lot of doctors make a mistake between it and nitrogen. Is the cause of many cancers, but it can be understood due to its weight compared to the other carbon. It leads to the combination of matter state interactions. It's a massive ball of fire, and this fire does not stop, because energy released by one neutron to go through what we call splitting, what to become nuclear decay, is automatically absorbed by the other neutron. And in that process, in the dynamic magnetic field, part of the energy in being given to other protons and neutrons, they become active too. And in so many ways, if you understand, aging by what we call carbon-14 dating should give you very clear understanding is the time when you stop the whole process. Then you can trace it when and how it was stopped by itself, or in the process went through a condition has stopped because of lack of transfer of energy. Interesting enough, if we go to the next step and understand that you have a carbon and you have a, in a way, a tritium. Two cells working together, two cells working in a way as a helium or in a way as a tritium, and sometimes due to their energy balance they behave as just two neutrons. What is this will give is the extension in how to understand we age, how fast we age, and why when we use the Gans-Pflanzer technology on the cell of the man, we see huge changes. Because we interfere with line of field transfer energy. This is why our CH3 Gans shows a lot of characteristics of carbon-14. And if we understand it, we can fully utilize it. When we take measurements on the decay or whatever, we always make a mistake in conversion of the energy of carbon-14 with nitrogen. It's so common that because of it we have missed many parts of the whole structure of the understanding of the work of the body of the man. What I would like to do, I would like to take you to a step to understand this process. I need a whiteboard. Rick, would you like to write in my place, because I cannot, I lost my screen again.
Okay, we do see your whiteboard right now, but
yeah, but I don't have my screen pad. It's okay, I write, no problem. When you have a hydrogen, if you look, it's not an atom in a way, it's a half atom because it doesn't carry any neutrons. It's the lack of neutron in it. The next step here is nitrogen, or if you can put it, carbon-14. Very interesting. how I cannot use my system. Then you understand the process 0 to 14. Now the next 14 comes here. Again carbon 14, but it shows itself as silica. In that process of I've got the problem in writing this down. The next 14, carbon 14, is silica. You understand? You see it there. Another 14. One of the main components life of the man. When you take this to another step, 28, 14. And another 14. It's dynamic. 42. Can somebody tell us what's this 14? In transition of the strength of the magnetic field is Mr. Cohen. Now I appreciate what a beautiful thing I had as a pen. If you look at this again, what does it take us to? Where does it take this to? You come to something very easy.
56.
Yes, I know. I just don't have my screen. Hi, Arman. How are you, darling?
Good.
Good. That's good. Now you see how carbon 14 has been the backbone, and different combination of it. Here is 56. The next one is 70. And then look what 70 does, which element sits with you at 70. But you have to remember something very strange. Here, we don't see usually as such what takes place as another element we know with number 42. Then you understand how much our scientists of the past have forgotten and have not seen, because they never considered a dynamic structure that none of it, one of it, 2 of it, 3 of it, 4 of it has created the cycle of life on this planet for mankind. And look at the half balanced lines. And then you see how life of the man has gradually taken shape on this planet. This raises a fantastic question, and that is very, very simply, very, very simple. Would the body of the man, working on a carbon-14 will suit to travel the depth of the universe on the lines of the carbon-14 magnetic field of the universe? It is absolutely a perfect match. And if you look at this zone, you look at this zone, and then you look at every other zone with carbon-12, then you understand how the soul of the man and the physicality of the man, the soul of the man continuously repeat themselves. And that's how we dream. And this is how the two are so close to each other that we have lost sight of our soul. Line of communication of our soul. Where through the physicality we communicate energy transfer through carbon-12. But the work of the universe through transfer of the soul is carbon-14. And we live through carbon-12. Our soul lives in the line of communication of carbon-14. And this is how we will travel the space of the universe. Then you understand how easy it should be for mankind to become travelers of the universe. Every indication on the transfer of gravitational magnetic field of the space of the speed of the universe sits within the structure of the amino acid and physicality of the man in the dimension of magnetic fields. You're a perfect match. Now, does the man understand that much? That in checking the physical dimensions in matter state, sees silicon, nitrogen, amino acid and iron? Or is it in reality multiple combination of carbon-14? Then it comes to us a new dimension in the line of communication for control of the space reactors. Understanding the creation of the soul and the dimension of the emotion of the man in the line of physicality and the soul of the man. To understand how to travel, how to nourish, how to multiply in the depth of the universe, or anywhere in the universe. I warned the knowledge seekers yesterday in the teaching, in the private teaching, what was coming. Those of you who work on a dimension of energy transfer, transportation, in the dimension of the structural conductivity of the physicality of the man, or the soul of the man, now you have found a very big answer. If you look, when you look at the Alex Beats macro systems, you use CO2 for communication line for diabetic and everything else. Now you can add the dimension of the transportation of the soul to it. Now man has two choices. Do I want to travel in the dimension of the flow of a carbon, or do I want to travel in the dimension of super speed of the soul? Can I use the plasmatic magnetic field of CH3, which I can produce so easy, to become the giver of energy is carbon-14? Is there a shortcut to it? Or does actually sugar behave like carbon-14 in superconductivity of the energy of one hydrogen atom? Is this why the body of the man evolved so fast on this planet? Because the presence of the basic sugar, which gives you a carbon-14, which itself already very active, has an additional way to release the energy of to become energy, source of energy. Or is the additional electron or additional neutron or additional proton, depends how you define it, becomes a point that due to interaction of the two neutrons in carbon-14 in a physical collision with the additional proton, lead to release of energy that man needs to create and dynamism in the amino acid. And becomes a source of energy. In a way, we introduce a barrier. When the bullet comes, let's absorb the energy of. And that energy with that bullet, the bullet released continuously is by the double protons or neutrons, as you have an energy conformation in the plasma condition, which with the interaction of the lighter one 2 to 1, that is 2 protons confirming with the electron as a neutron in the CH3, with a third one is like putting a barrier or creating in a plasmatic film force, very much like you create a motion. This is your 2 hydrogens and this is your single hydrogen. And in that process, where you already have a carbon here, you create a release of energy to the amino acid which is bounded to it. And this amino acid becomes active. It receives energy. It can survive. So if we can increase the binding of CH3 or a carbon-14 in the presence of the body of the man, which creates a continuous supply into the amino acid, which means the amino acid does not need continuously to deplete and then replete it, gives a life of centuries to man. Because there is no damage. There is no continuous depletion refilling it. This is how you can extend life on this planet. Simple understanding of the transfer of the fields of the universe can make a lot of difference for man if the man understands what is going on.
Excuse me, Mr. Kesh, could we get you to just move your microphone away from your mouth a tiny bit, not too much? Thank you.
No, better.
I believe so. Go ahead.
Yes, is it okay?
Sure. Yep.
So now you understand how we can even extend the life of the man through understanding the operation of the carbon-14, and how we can use this operation of carbon-14 to create the fast dynamic motion of the protein or the body of the man in the emission of the soul of the transportation. Now, the science of physiology and the science of the soul of the man is that now we can understand much more. Now we can act upon it. We can operate through it. We can extend the life with it. And then we do not depend on a cycle of the rotation of one thing we called the day, the year, or anything else which mankind has chosen to call this thing. Now, which side of the story do you want me to sing for you? Have the scientists been right to measure the decay of life of anything on a carbon-14, or did they miss the boat? Or can we use the operation of carbon-14 to create a new dimension for life of the man in space? Remember last week when I spoke about the separation of the gaps between the galaxies, I spoke about the carbon-14. I start putting things out for you to see what you understand till the next time, till the next teaching, till the next time, might be next time or the time after or time after. But the teaching now starts getting meaning, it starts having understanding. Because if you can create a condition of transfer of the energy in the level of carbon-14, you can tap into the universal transportation line, you can tap into the understanding, creating life for the others who are the passengers of this line to manifest themselves in the portal of life you create. All you do, you create a new bus stop. Would anybody would like to take off here after thing? I have created a condition which I can create that replication. If you want to understand, maybe we can explain, is the superconductivity within the conductivity of the plasma itself. Now you can imagine what the scientists were telling us. Superconductive materials, not only now you have the superconductive materials in the form of the nano layering, now you have superconductive path to transport that. Now that you understand, the body of the man is made of gases. Starts adding up. But do you want to invite everyone in, or do you want to have a specific length or a specific people? You don't want to invite the cousins, but you would like the uncles to come. And you don't know if the uncle will be dressed in the suit or come with pajamas. How do you manifest that only the uncle turns up and no cousins, only the cousins come, you don't want the uncles? Go back to your teaching. Go back to understanding. Go back to understanding of the interaction of the fields of the gravitational field with inertia, which leads to creation of manifestation of the material or matter state. Then you understand. Then you understand you can create the condition of the conformation of existence by introduction of the third strength in the carbon-14, and any passenger of universe which matches into that will manifest in your portal. It's very much when you create a matter state with the attraction of the fields of your cores, it's you who by introduction of the inertia dictates what matter from the energy of the atmosphere will manifest itself. In the case of liquid and iron, we produced blood, hemoglobin. In the case of interaction of the fields, we created gold, zinc, magnesium, and the other one, which we see in the test results as was done independently to confirm what is collected. Now understanding the transfer and transportation and the connection between the soul of the man, which now becomes the language of the universal community, in understanding of his transportation line, now you can invite friends home. And then you dictate what friends and whose friends. I don't want this. I want to see what it gives me as such a strength in the spectrum of the magnesium with the carbon 14, and see which creatures of God come up, appear, like the way inertia lead to creation and manifestation of the energy of the universe in the gold or copper. Now we have learned how to manifest our guests. But you can use the same process to become part of, to join into the link of the superhighway of the universe, till your cousin or your son on planet Zeus has created a condition of the amino acid the strength of your carbon 14, which leads you to land there. Wisdom. Now you understand. Because in that dimension, you travel through the communication line of high speed through what we call the soul speed of the man. Because it's still a combination of amino acid, but still is dynamic that it can link into. Now it's getting tricky, doesn't it? Very, very tricky. Those of you who understood, those of you who maybe understand in the future, have already understood, and you have already entered to produce the portals. But be careful what you do. What did your mother say when you were young and you went on the street? Do not speak with the strangers. And do not every time go out, come back home with a cat and a dog. How many of you had that? Mom is the last cat I ever bring, I promise you that. Now we open you the portals. Who's gonna turn up? And how good you have made the confirmation and process of the soul level which you have invited. What does this mean to you? Those of you who were hoping that something might pop out of the jackpot.
In the Q&A, Mr. Kesh, Dimitri mentions or asks the question, so when we use the flight system of the soul of the man, we are using carbon-14 within ourselves?
I don't know, what do you think?
Well, he also followed up 2 minutes later with another question. So using carbon-14 within our cells is a result of conduct? I think that's when you mentioned superconductivity. Is the use of carbon-14 a result of conduct in a way? It's kind of a play on words, but maybe it's true.
What a beautiful day. We don't leave guessworks, it's understanding. And understanding the knowledge. Comprehending the totality. This is what it's about. It's about the total existence.
Mr. Cash?
Yes.
Very fantastic.
Would you like to introduce yourself, please? We know who you are.
This is Lin. And from China, yes. From the beautiful country, and a lot of people love you here. Yes, I think you bring us so fantastic teaching today, but that's remind me a video what I watched before. It's about meditation from Buddhism teaching. And from there, I remember it shows like a white connection line when the soul come out from the body and travel in the deep space, and it's always connected with the physical body. So when you talk about carbon-14, I was thinking maybe that is the carbon-14 field inside the body, and they find the match strength of the universe carbon-14, and then the soul just travel outside of the body. Is that true?
The color of the brain of the man is a strange key to the color of the soul. When we look at the structure of the brain, we see a very white color, creamish white color, and different points of the brain has slightly different creamish white color, which is combination of the magnesium and carbon and zinc. Because if you have made a combination of the magnesium, zinc, and CO2 in GANs, and you just change the ratio slightly, you get a perfect match of the structure of the physicality of the brain of the man in this dimension. Has any of you ever made GANs of silica?
We've made a lot in Arizona.
What color is it?
Tan. Light
Pardon?
tan. Light tan.
Like what?
Like a cream color.
Good morning. How many of you have made zinc GANs?
Again, we've made a lot of zinc.
Whitish snow?
White as snow.
CO2 is whitish creamish. Silica is whitish creamish. It's the coherent protein, transparent. Zinc, whitish creamish. Isn't the brain of the man, which holds the containment of the soul of the man, perfect match for man to become man of space? Is this, or can we consider as many of you made, I presume, the calcium GANs too? What color is the calcium GANs?
Whitish creamish.
Can I say good morning?
And calcium has also an isotope 42, which is stable.
Good morning. Have we found a joint and balance connection between both the containment and control of the physicality of the man, the containment and control of the soul of the man? Has our soul been traveling on the dimension of the physicality of the man? And that's why we dream through our soul, and it gets registered in the dimension of understanding and memory of the physicality of the man. Is the matter state of the physicality of the man, the copper, and the coating of it of the same balance strength, the nano coating which creates a superconductivity to the dimension of the soul of the man? have believed that double life, a life of physicality, superseded or super covered by the dimension of the superconductivity on the level of one matter state, which is connected to the universal dimension, which is our soul has already been built, been developed, and been from the beginning on the direction and in the presence of the soul of totality of the universe. You know what a nanomaterial is? Does not matter what, space gap is the same. Fourteen, doesn't matter what material you are. Space myself because I have a field which can link up between double and triple. Now, half of the mystery of the life of the man maybe is sorted. Maybe now you can understand how man has lived a double life. Something a mystery here. This sits 78.
So are you speaking about selenium in that case, Mr. Kesh, with the 78? Selenium is 78.96 or something as its weight. And selenium is, I know, one of the essential elements for the body and is deficient in many soils, like in the local area where I happen to live in.
In your subconscious.
Sorry, pardon me? Did you say?
Explain.
Well, I just know that there's a local organic gardener, and she's mentioned to me that selenium is one of the essential elements. We see, you know, iron, of course, is one, and of course the carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. And I believe the silica as well as one of the essentials. And the thing is that I think due to certain conditions, local conditions, many soils can be depleted of selenium. So it ends up that we don't get enough.
We are looking at 74, 78.
78, yeah.
It's 5.5 times 14. It's not a multiple of 14.
Pardon?
It's an oddity because it's a little further from 70. It's 5.5 times 14.
So we should have, you mean it should be 56 plus 14 to go to the next step?
70. Yes. But now, if you look at 78,
It's 70 plus 2 volumes.
you see, if you have a 56 and you have another 14, it gives you 70. But if you go up to half a weight of the atomic mass of oxygen, then you get the combination gravitational field forces of this planet which locks into it. Or the other way, if you look at it, if you add part of magnetic field effect of 4 oxygen to the same combination, you'll end up somewhere around the copper and zinc. If you take the combination mass elements of oxygen, which attracts and locks the man into the physicality of this earth, that ties up the energy of the soul of the man to the physicality of this planet, which gravitational field, magnetic field forces of the gravitational field of this planet, we always said is oxygen. You go 4 times 16. Then you see how zinc has become part of the structure physicality of the man. Then you see through the carbon 14 how the soul of the physicality of the man has got tangled into the gravitational field of the body of the man. And then you can see how the soul of the physicality and the soul of the man has got locked into each other. You don't understand, let me explain. Here, I have the next step. Yeah, 68. Here, I have 64. Now here I have the zinc connected to magnetic field, gravitational field of the oxygen, which ties up with a gravitational magnetic field element of non-ferro but in gas state or plasma state of 68 of the oxygen. Now you see, if I add a 14 here to it, how the whole structure locks into each other. Here you bring the emotion, dimension of the control. Now you understand. Here.
I think you drew that number as 68, and I think it should be 64 up there. Up top. You circled. Should be 64.
Oh, yes, 64, sorry. Now you understand how the physicality of the man, the soul of the man, and the connection between the soul and the physicality, conductivity have locked into each other. And why when you dream you remember it in a physical dimension and you remember what the mama said. And only happens in the dimension of the magnetic field of the soul and the common denominator of the 14. Now, maybe you understand why we remember everything of our dreams. Because we bring it in and we lock it in into the physical dimension. It is very, very easy to understand. How man has got himself into the whole cycle of creation. The atmosphere of this planet has just created a condition and the availability of the field forces. That's what has happened. Combination of the carbon-14 and the carbon in line of the connection with the physicality and everything else has continuously played back and forth. If you add 6 or 7 of the half of carbon itself, 6 to 14, you get 20. What is 20? If you add half of the weight of nitrogen to the nitrogen mass, which is 7, you get 21, 22. Sodium, and then you see how the structure has picked up. How man has got trapped into the physicality just by accidentally creating a condition, one to the physical dimension of this magnetic field of this planet, irrespective of its matter state, to its gaseous state, which is the oxygen, one through the dimension of the matter state of this planet, which is through its carbon, And then one in the dimension of the strength of the work of the universe, communication or transportation line, which is carbon 14. Man has always worked in all the three dimensions. Now you know why you remember your dreams. Why the color of the body, the soul of the man contained within the white shade of the brain of the man. Everything else is matching up to fit in. Everything else is there, sitting. Connection of the physicality, connection of the soul of the man, connection with the matter state, which is in a way is a compromise between the two, and the gravitational magnetic field of this planet. Every half or a carbon addition to carbon 14 gives you connection with your physical dimension. Then you understand how the both magnetical to do with the gravitational field to hold on to in the dimension of the existence of the field of the plasma of the body has led to creation of the same connection with universal communication line and magnetic field. One works in the dimension of physicality, one works in the dimension of the soul of the man, and one works in the dimension of the soul of the physicality. But the dimension of the soul of the man and the dimension of the physicality of the man sits in its dimension of the soul of the physicality, which is through the blood. That's how the link has been locked in. This is how the field moves from physicality dimension, the blood, the copper, the zinc. Now we can see the structure. Now we can see how we can travel in the dimension of the physicality, or we can travel in the dimension of the soul of the man. If we bring the inertial condition of the gravitational field of the gaseous, which we are totally in the plasma condition, which is oxygen, then we have the manifestation of the containment of the physicality of the soul of the man, which is the zinc, which is the amino acid, which is silica, which is carbon 14 and the carbon. Now, mankind should be very easy for it to understand why when you dream and you remember your dream, where it actually is communication on the line of your soul, and you call it the dream. Some of you have enough influence on the transformation between the carbon and carbon 14 that you can even call it a wish. But in fact, you have understood how to tap in to the soul of the man. Now you understand when we were explaining how you can control the space reactors with thoughts, with a wish. I want to go to the left. Good morning, John.
I'm awake and paying attention.
What made you to make so much silicon?
Because right now our bodies are made carbon based, and I've heard a lot of talk and teachings about going to a crystalline based, which is silica. So now it starts to make sense because um, I can see where that silica is comes in the equation.
But you can see how silica controls Mr. Cohen.
Now I do.
Now, does it mean that in your systems you have to always consider to be connected to the use of amino acid?
We've always had everything that we do. We connect to amino acids, which is our connection to
Able to
us.
think and your system should fly.
You just have to tweak a couple little things, and we'll be right there.
A little tweaking to do. Now, hopefully, we see we understand why we dream at this level, but we live at this level. Now, what do you think the line of connection to the strength of the soul of the man sits? still waiting.
Right now it sits at zinc 64, but it's along the pathway of carbon 14. Is the pathway to
iodine.
gold.
Ninth.
I'm waiting our
14 times 9.
0.9.
No, not 14 times 9.
Yeah, 0.9 times.
It goes to iodine.
Do you remember iodine somewhere else we mentioned years ago?
Long time ago.
Those who worked on it, do you remember what it came to?
What was the question? I couldn't hear.
I said, do you remember what was number one iodine came to be? I think somebody worked out that should be the strength of the soul of the man.
Yes. You told us.
Yes, I remember that being mentioned as well.
Is it correct?
Now you understand, very much so. But you understand the position of and the connection of with physicality.
Now we do.
Now a lot of mysteries come together. You have to understand this if you are going to play with portal. Are you moving the soul? Are you moving the physicality? Because if you take the element of iodine, 126 magnetic energy fields, it's in fact 11 times, 11 and a half times, taking percentage of field conductivity of the carbon is around the interaction of the field forces of the matter state of the body of the man, which is carbon 12. This is where the soul of the man connects to the physicality of the man, in the dimension of the strength. After 2 years, 3 years, we just come back to the same point again. But now we understand what we need. So, when you make your portals, the random calculation is how many times the strength of the gravitational and the magnetical fields of carbon 14 gives you the speed of the travel in the dimension of the lines of the transportation of the lines of the fields of the universe by order of the magnitude. The speed of light does not come into it. It's like they say you have a yacht with an engine which can do, or a boat with an engine which can do 100 kilometers an hour, but they don't tell you the river you are on is already traveling at 400. So when it comes to measuring and understanding the transportation through the dimension of the portal or dimension of the soul of the man, in so many ways the dimension multiple of carbon 14 fits directly into the soul of the man. So in a way, if you look at it, you travel 9 times by speed to the direction of position, and then you can tighten it by the order of magnitude. This is the, we are not talking about the speed of light. Speed of light is only the matter state. An entity does not go through phase change. I was explaining that in the teaching yesterday. That somebody said we go through another dimension. And I explained that very, very simply. I was explaining to a number of Iranian scientists this morning. When you travel with the speed of sound and you break the sound barrier as you go through it, the aircraft with a pilot, does it change on the other side of the sound barrier? Does it become a different aircraft or does it become a different man? Sound barriers again is a magnetic field compression. Even you call it the air compression. Air is made of magnetic field. So when the man goes through the speed of light in the matter state, when it does, will it come out to a new dimension? Or as you pass every time, does the pilot become a donkey and the plane becomes a monkey and everything else changes every time you pass through? So you come to understand you have found a way, a measuring method, a way to be able to roughly guess what speed you're going to go, where you're going to go, and where have you set the dimension to the amino acid, the strength of the soul of the man to land up where you want to be. You move the man through the strength of his soul.
Hello, Mr. Kish. Oops. Should be another minute or two for Mr. Kish to come back. Bear with us, please.
Moved in the dimension of the soul of the man, and he moved on.
We couldn't hear anything before you said.
Those of you, I didn't say anything, I got dropped off. I'm just back. You haven't missed anything, I imagine.
Okay.
I lost all my pictures, but it's good. Now we understand the process. Now we start learning how to make the framework. You have to make a common denominator framework which allows and respects not only the soul of the physicality, if you want to go in the dimension of physicality, but respects the soul of the man too. The strange thing is not many creatures have this combination to be able to travel the span of universe. Now you see the advantage of being a human. Very, very few races come to this combination. Now, we start building a framework. We start putting new rules, new dimensions. Which is actually CH3. Then you understand how close man is to be able to become the passengers of the universe. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. And once again, I'll remind the attendees they can put the hand up and we can recognize you to speak. And panelists can see fit or put your hand up. And we have one question in particular from Angelina, as you were in there. She says, it is interesting to think about the ratio between those elements. Why did you pick up these specific elements? Are they the ones that compose the whole human being?
I didn't pick up the gravitational field force of this planet has done for billions of years. Because it has to work in both dimensions. You know, it's very easy. You have to understand it's very easier said and then past maybe 48 hours. I've repeated it 2 or 3 times. You travel 24 hours a day with the speed of the planet. you, of its own, you travel with a speed of 10,000 to be the passenger of this solar system. You travel with a speed of 100,000 to be passenger of the galaxy. And you travel with a speed of 1 billion to be passenger of the universe. And every one of them therefore has a field force effect on the creation of the man. This is how, at the speed you travel, the collisions you create to lead to the creation of. If the speed of this planet was not 1,500, 1,600, let's say, kilometers an hour to create it 24 hours, and you would have traveled at 2,200 RPM, or what's called it, kilometers per hour, that your day was, let's say, 16 or 15 hours or whatever it could be, then that speed dictates a different field's creation in respect to the atmosphere of this solar system. And if that creates that speed, which means should be another field forces exerted by the sun on the earth, or the combination of mixture of the earth itself, or our annual rotation becomes 200 days on the same orbit. It means which are going fast. It means we produce interaction of different fields, and the structure will change on this planet. You turn up a grinding stone, and you hold your knife, fix it to the position. Does it create the same spark at 1,600 than 2,200? It's totally different. So the environment of this universe, the speed of rotation of it, the speed of rotation of the earth, the speed of rotation of the solar system, now we understand has the effect on the creation of elements in the different position of this solar system or this universe or this galaxy. And that combination has its enforcement on the others. This is go back to the teaching past years. I keep on referring to many times in teachings that not only we get the what you call the fields or radiation from the interaction of the field of the earth and the sun, we get radiations, we get fields from outside the solar system, which is interaction affects our life. As it affects us and it comes into it, it dictates part of our structure. So we are not just connected to 24 hours field strength of this planet, because now the field of the sun counts too. So we have a common denominator at the end of it, which is carbon-14, which is again affects our condition to the speed of the travel of the matter, field strength of the soul of the man. We call it the soul, but it's the packages of the energy which has in line accepted to be in conjunction with the fields of this planet. You got to understand very simple principle, and that is, if we have no motors, that we don't see any motors rotating this planet, then we have no motors to rotate the galaxies in the spans of the universe, how stronger the field strength of carbon-14 or the winds of the universe has to be that can create such an interaction rotation with and cause of the galaxy to rotate. The speeds of the fields of the universe are many multiple larger than 1 billion. How you get one of these, what you call the windmills, children windmills, and blow on it, it has no motor. The speed you blow the air dictates how fast it goes. And still, there is so much surplus energy that the speed of the blade cannot catch up with, or is not enough. If the winds of the universe can create the galaxies to move at 1 million kilometers an hour, how stronger they are, that in slowing down in interaction matter states they create. This goes back to what I keep on saying, that no man has ever managed to measure the speed of magnetic fields, be it in the matter state, be it in the speed of the universal magnetic field. Then you can travel the speed of the universe at any speed depending on what you're locking yourself to, for what reason. Then is not 9 times, is order of magnitude 9 times the speed of universal magnetic field, because that energy of the extra neutron is dictated and controlled by the universal field forces. Has no friction. Is purely on the speed of the center, the principal matter speeds of itself. It's not anymore the order of, what they call it, multiplication, is the order of magnitude. Then you understand, man, that the speed of the carbon-14 must be dictated by a higher speed of order from outside the universe, which condition of it, part of it is connected to the speed of the travel of the soul of the creator. Then can we create a portal that can attract the travels of different universes? Now, I hope you understand.
Mr. Kesh, Doug had asked in the Q&A earlier, is this pure spiritual / plasma science extending into the matter state science to help us combine the 2 dimensions?
Good morning.
And we have a question from Christian in the Q&A. I am passing on a question by Holger Holchem Hanschken, who cannot attend. Can you please give us practical advice and training on how to use emotions for communication with our soul or soul?
Find a common denominator between the strength of the soul, line of communication, and the strength of matter, line of communication. It's somewhere around 160. Which is 10 times the magnetic gravitational field of the, what do you call it? Oxygen, gravitational field of oxygen. If you multiply 12 by 14, gives you something like 166. And then you have somewhere between that, and then somewhere with item, which is the soul of the man, with the dimension of containment of the strength of it. Now you know the strength of it. To contain it, you have to be higher. If item was 126, you have to give it a stronger cage that it can contain it, which is 166. If it's lower, it escapes. And if you find a combination of the elements of, in so many ways, the totality of the structure, which is in so many ways very, very much the containment of the amino acid of the man, then it gives you the dimension of the existence. Take into consideration possibilities of all the fields, because if you multiply 4243 by 4 times, it gives you how it comes to be part of the structure of the creation of the matter state of the brain of the man. Now a lot of things fits, doesn't it? Now maybe you understand why we even have a calcium skull. This is how you understand why they find carbon-14 even in our bones. It comes from the universal field forces, not from the body of the man. And it's got such a lapse, such a strength, that it's easy to travel. It's a foreigner, it's out of this world. But it's part of the common denominator and it's dictated the structure of the man. It's dynamic, but has a what we call a beta effect, as you call it. So it means it interacts with the matter state. So calcium can block it, can hold it, can contain it. When you look at the brain of the man, you understand about the soul of the man and the creation of the physicality of it. It creates a field force pull that it becomes part of a cycle. Now I have to teach something very, very strange, but it's beautiful. Man will understand how he's come to be created. You know, go this way. Okay, let's look at something. Sorry about this, I don't have my pen. I said will help me next week to be able to make it. This is your one part of your brain. This is one part of your brain. This is what you have as a beautiful soul. Sorry, it's too powerful. You got to understand this little chap is dynamic. And now you understand the strength of it. But it creates a gravitational magnetic field forces which is equal, the same as you extracted CO2 from the environment. Very much, I cannot use a white color, I use yellow color. It gives you, it pulls in and it creates your skull, calcium, due to its forces. But as the calcium comes and sits and finds its position like the crust of the earth, now very much like a dynamic lava, it grinds on it and it continuously feeds itself from it, that it falls in and it creates the seed of the physicality of the brain of the man. But its pull gets it continuously extending on it, but inside grinds it to get the strength that it needs for its existence. We look at the physicality of the brain, but how come it's got that shape? There is a magnetic field flow, wind as you call it here. And what strength it creates and it has dictates the shape of this wind. This is like when we give a water to somebody and we tell them this is a water, but it's GANs. It's not normal water. It has a field around it. Excuse me, sir. This is GANs too, huh? And your soul is contained within the structure of the GANs. It has a wind around it too. So it grinds to it. It releases field forces of it. Now you might understand a little bit more. Don't forget, read book number 1. At what point, or read book number 3, or very well explaining number 4. That's how the surface of this planet, or any planet, has decided. So the skull of the man is the same. Is the interaction gravitational magnetic field of the soul in a different strength of itself gives the dimension of the brain, with its atmosphere gives the skull of the man. And where he's lost it, he's found a loophole or a leak on it, it becomes the spine of the man. And then you get legs and arms. And then you get what you have to deal with the physical part of this planet. And beautifully covers the soul of the man in it through the dimension of physicality, but we call it the neural system. We are reaching gradually the point of departure. We're all on the same train and we're getting to the terminal. In this city, the airport, the train station, the bus station, the taxis, all go from the same destination. You're in a hurry, you have the money, you fly. You're in a hurry, but you have time, you get a train. You're in a hurry, but you don't have that much. You get a bus, but you can't go on your own, you get a taxi. You want to travel with the speed of the soul, you want to travel with the speed of universe, you want to travel as a sightseer. I would like to be on a spaceship. Now is the choice of the man. And I have taught you all of it now. Maybe a little bit still left.